446 grain Easton Bowhunter 6.5 arrow. PSE EVL set to 71 pounds. 28.5-inch draw length. No peep, so that'll take a little bit off of the speed. $288. Let's see the Expedite now. Same arrow setup, PSE Expedite, 71 pounds, also 28.5-inch draw length. Let's see what this guy gets. $296. So that's on the pace. You're getting probably with the peep sight, right? That's probably right at 10 feet per second slower the EVL is than the Expedite. So I'm gonna call that true to speed. Remember when Matt Best used to do bikini snaps? Throwback. The 2021 PSE EVL. I'm not sure if it's pronounced evil or EVL, but probably should have cleared that up before I did the video. This is the last of the major flagship models that for me to shoot and test for 2021. And a lot of people have been reaching out asking how I get my hands on all of these bows to test. So I'll flat out just tell you guys. The vast majority, the Bowtechs, the Hoyts, the Matthews, the Primes, I have no affiliation with those companies. I just go down to my local archery shops. Usually it's Adventures Archery here in Tampa, and I just blank bail those bows, ask one of the Bowtechs if they can set one up, or if I can set one up just to shoot a little and get enough of a feel for the bows to be able to give you guys a first impression video. That's why I specifically label the videos first impression videos, because I'm doing the same thing as everybody else. I'm going into a shop, blank bailing it, giving my impressions and sharing it with you guys. Most of the bows that you guys see me post that aren't my personal bows on the Knights of the Apex Instagram page, those are usually friends bows that I set up. Now the exception to both of those would be the PSEs that you see right here. PSE sent me both of these bows. The 2021 Expedite I got last October, and then the EVL I just got in this week. Now my relationship with PSE, I don't really know. They like my content. I like their bows. They send me bows to test and make content for and talk about and share with all of you guys. So our relationship status it's complicated, I guess. Honestly, I'm not going to ask and pull the whole, what are we? We got a good thing going. They've never tried to give me any money or any talking points or anything like that. They've literally just said, hey, we want to send you a bow. Do your thing with it. Recognize that my reviews and my videos for PSE, because I have access to the bows, I get to set them up. I've hunted with the Expedite. I'm gonna get to have this for a while. I don't know if they're asking for the bows back or not, beating the Expedite to crap, so hopefully not. Because I have access and long-term exposure to them, and I can set them up how I want, tune them how I want, talk to some of the guys over at the company, these reviews and these videos are always gonna be in greater detail than some of the other companies that I do reviews for. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. I think I do a good job of being impartial and fair in any assessments that I make, but just recognize that that's there. So just trying to be fair to all you guys. But the EVL. So before we open up the chapter on the EVL, let's close the one on the Expedite. We'll do kind of side-by-side comparison because this is kind of like the bridge between the 2020 models and the 2021 models. The Expedite has been absolutely phenomenal for me. I hunted with it last November, took 2 deer with it. I've loved this bow, the speeds. This bow has been crushing every other bow for 2021 in terms of speed. This bow is a 5.5-inch brace height bow. This bow shoots just as accurate and just as steady as my NXT 31 from last year. Now, this is a 33-inch axle-to-axle bow, and I will concede that it doesn't hold as steady as, say, the NTN or the other 33 model NXT, probably because of the shorter riser. You can see compared to the EVL, which is a 32 axle-to-axle bow, and I'll have the full stats for this bow in the description down below. But comparatively, right, the riser is shorter. I've talked to a lot of guys around the world that are shooting this bow even at 80 pounds, and they are sending me pictures of them stacking arrows at 50, 60, 70, 80 yards, and they just can't believe the accuracy and the speed they're able to get out of this bow. But regardless, I know that some people will just be turned off by the fact that it's a speed bow, so the EVL is probably your clearest alternative. Now, I know people are going to ask, you have the Expedite, you've talked it up a lot, which one would you choose if you can only pick one? It's honestly too early to tell. I don't even have a peep sight in this bow right now. I am a victim of COVID just like everybody else. My accessories are all on back order. Apparently bullets, toilet paper, and 7/30 seconds peep are just in really high demand right now. I believe my stabilizers from Quattro are coming in today. I'm going to be running a couple of different stabilizers on here, and I'll talk about that later. But my sight from B3 is still back ordered, waiting on that, as are my arrows from Easton. So everything I talk about is going to be based on my initial first impressions, bare bow, and of course I'll do a more extended review as I get more time with the bow and have accessories on it and shoot it. I really wanted to put out this video because I know there hasn't been a lot of videos about this bow, and talking to PSE, these should start arriving at dealers this week and next week. But you can count on me doing a more comprehensive review in the future as I get more time with it. Let's get into the EVL now, and let's start with the cams. So same Evolve cams that we've all come to know and love. You've got your high let-off mods, 80, 85, and 90%. What I love about those mods is you don't gain or lose speed by adjusting the let-off, which can't be said for a lot of other brands out there. The way they do that is because it does add incremental changes to your draw length, so you can even fine-tune your draw length and the feel of the bow at full draw just with those let-off mods. Now, as far as how these cams feel, the Evolve cam, in my opinion, is still the best mixture of comfort and efficiency of any cam on the market. At the 90% let off, you do get a bit of a hump before you go into the valley, but it's a very smooth, very predictable draw. It's very consistent throughout. It stacks at the very end, and then you go into the valley and you feel like you can hang out there forever. And as far as adjustability goes, you get, I believe on the EVL, it's 25 to 30.5 inches of adjustability. So a lot of adjustment out of just one cam. You don't have to worry about switching modules and things like that. Moving on from the cams, the limbs, the limb pockets, and the limbs itself, it's a much wider limb stance than the years previously. So compare it side by side with the with the Expedite, you can see that they removed the wedge lock limb pocket system. Personally, I never used the wedge lock limb system on any of my PSE bows. I kind of thought it was redundant, so I was not, upset when they decided to move away from that. I've never had issues with my limbs shifting or anything like that I felt like this was necessary. So simplified it, streamlined it. Big fan there. The wider limb pockets definitely make a difference in terms of hold. And for years we've seen the trend of bows. They're going to longer risers, wider limb pockets, and more tunable features, and the EVL is no exception here. This is a longer riser than years previously, the widest limb pocket that PSE has produced. The effect of this wider limb pocket and this longer riser is the most stable PSE that I've ever shot. And not just the most stable PSE, I would put this as the most stable bow for 2021, tied with the Prime Nexus series. And that's saying a lot because I've talked up the Primes a lot. I think that they dominate the hold stability and just the pointability of the bow. Bringing the bows up and coming to full draw, when you're locked out, those Prime bows are famous, and rightfully so, for how stable and forgiving and comfortable they feel. The new design of the EVL is on par with that bow. That's saying a lot. That's really a jump in performance for PSE. They've always held well for me. I've always liked the way PSE held. I like the balance, the grip, especially when you start putting accessories on there. I always found that these bows came together really well. But even bare bow, typically the PSEs in years past have been a little top heavy. Not so this year. You'll see in the videos of me shooting, and I'll try and slow them down. The bow holds extremely steady and it stays balanced throughout the shot. I'm really interested to see, once I have a sight on here what kind of stabilizer setup I'm going to run, because I have a feeling it's going to be different than the setups I've run on previous model PSEs. Moving down, this is a cool little feature right here. So PSE included these little QD swivel mounts. So what you can actually do, and I think, you know, a lot of people, right, this is a Vickers Blue Force Gear AR-15 style kind of like tactical sling. It's got a little QD mount with a button on there. What you can do is you can take any attachment with one of these little QD mounts and just clip it in there. Now, I'm not a big sling guy, but I could actually see myself potentially using this. I think most of us have slings laying around the house, or, you know, you've got one from your AR-15. It's kind of cool that come bow season, you can just use that same exact sling. I could definitely see myself using that because I don't have to necessarily buy anything extra. I can just use one of the slings I already have, or even in my tree stand, I could put one of these little QD mounts on my bow line and hoist up my bow that way. Pretty cool. That's awesome. I like that a lot. Moving back, we've got the new patent pending yoke tunable system from PSE. I'm blanking on the name right now. I'll bring the Expedite in here to compare. So on years previous, right, like the PSEs, the Matthews, the Primes, right, they run similar cable systems in that they have a cable running down to one cam, right, and then it goes to a polymer splitter, and then there's another string that connects the two, and they're joined by this polymer splitter. What PSE did is they've patented a new design which is simpler. What this does is it allows you to use one cable, which then twists around itself and then splits as the yoke. So now you can yoke tune these bows, kind of similar to how some of the Bowtechs or the Hoyts, when they had the yoke systems, right? You can now tune your left and rights and allow the bow to have a center shot using this. And it also simplifies the cable and string system. So this is now a 3-string bow as opposed to a 5-string bow. So if you're somebody that shoots a lot, you'd like to get aftermarket strings, or you just like to add aftermarket strings anyway, those string options should now actually be cheaper because your builder is using less string material, and it's just a simpler, more streamlined system overall. Before you had this yoke system, right, you really had to move these spacers on this bow, and PSE secures their axles with these E-clips. Spacers and E-clips, nobody likes working with them, even if you're good at it. I just did a limb swap for a Hoyt last week, and I did it pretty quickly, but it's still a pain in the ass. Any system that allows you to tune the bow without having to take the axles apart is always a welcome addition, and more companies are moving towards that, right? So I think PSE did a really smart thing here. They're saying that you can get about a ½ inch of tunability out of your left and rights just with this yoke system, which in the PSEs that I've tuned and set up personally, that's more than I've ever had to adjust anyway. I usually find that when I set up my PSEs for a center shot, I can use the cable guard and the rest and stay within center shot. So having those yokes, I think, will give you more than enough adjustment with these bows. So I was really psyched to see this. I think this was a really smart, simple innovation, and it streamlined the overall system. So there's a hole on these yoke systems, so you can now attach your rest cord right to the yoke system itself. You'll see on here that I tied a knot at both ends simply because when you come to full draw and these limbs come up, it produces some slack. So both of those knots keep that string from moving too much, just so it's consistent each and every single shot, and you don't have to worry about it sliding all the way through. So I don't know if that's an issue anyway, but that was just a little bit of added security that I did setting up this bow. The riser we kind of talked about. They still have the multiple sight mounting options that PSE has patented. I'm not sure how you can patent holes, but PSE's found a way to do that, so props to them, because I actually do use, you can see on my Expedite, I do use the different holes because I like to try and bring my sight bracket as low as possible, so there's as much of the weight of my accessories as close to my hand as possible, because it just helps with that pointability and the overall weight sensation. The bow feels lighter the more weight you can bring closer to your hand or lower on the bow. That's just what I've found that I like personally. Moving down, the cable guard carried over from years previously. Now, I know that some people have complained about this moving on them because there isn't any sort of like ratchet system or teeth in it, which I'm hoping they add in the future. Garrett Weaver and I talked about that. I've never had an issue with this moving on me in the field. Now, I'm very OCD with any time I get any bow or accessory. I make sure all of the screws and attachment points are tightened down. One thing that you need to make sure that your bow shop takes care of if you're purchasing this, when you purchase this from a shop, is make sure that they've tightened down the Allen, all of these screws on here, because when PSE ships these, I'll bring my box back. When PSE ships these in these boxes, and this goes for every company, they come in these thin boxes. Every bow company, it doesn't matter if it's Matthews, Hoyt, PSE, Prime, Bowtech, they all come in very similar boxes. There's not a whole lot of padding there, so I always find it funny when guys freak out about traveling with their bows because you don't even know the abuse your bow has probably taken before it ever even got to the shop. But I anticipate, or I expect, one of the reasons PSE ships these loose is that way it can move freely. That way, God forbid, something hits the box, leans up against it, this bar isn't hanging out, and there's less of a chance that it's going to be damaged or broken, or that there's undue pressure applied to the cables when there doesn't need to be. It's just like when I fly, I take the pressure off of my rest cord, just because you don't want to be applying pressure if you don't need to. Just make sure that it's tightened down, and you may have to adjust it anyway, because you can actually adjust some of your left and right and take and remove tension away from the bow just by adjusting the angle of this cable guard. Just below the cable guard, you're probably not going to be able to see it on video, but PSE did add the QAD Integrate rest mount it for you QAD fans on there. I have my Hamskea Hybrid Hunter Pro rest on this particular bow. I just prefer a limb-driven rest, but the QAD, they make a great rest. I have one on my Expedite right here. Same grip, this overmolded rubber grip, same grip as years previous, and you can remove that if you just want the bare bow, or if you want to customize that with grip tape or anything like that. Double stabilizer positions, you'll always see me run the stabilizer in the lower position. I just find that bringing that center of gravity lower just really helps with, again, the pointability and the balance of the overall bow. I just think it's an awesome feature. You're seeing more companies move towards that, and when you look at where PSE positioned their stabilizer mount, it makes sense, right? Matthews has their vibration dampener in a similar spot, that 3D dampener. Now Hoyt has a similar dampener in the same spot. So PSE, rather than giving you a little vibration dampening dick on the front of your bow, they allow you to add your own dick. Stabilizers, for the most part, are designed to kill some vibration from the bow, so it makes sense to me to have it just double, and now you have your stabilizer and vibration dampener in a similar spot. So I like that they did that. That was something that I was a big fan of when they started doing this on the NXTs last year. That covers all of the new features and enhancements to the EVL. The bow that PSE put out this year represents the best of what PSE has put out for the last couple years, and then some. This is the most stable PSE that I've ever shot. It's among the most stable bows on the market, and it has my favorite cam on the market, right? Just the combination of smoothness and efficiency. I think the Evolve cam really is unrivaled. There are some bows that their draw cycle is a little smoother. There are some bows that are a little faster, but I don't think any other cam on the market has the same combination of smoothness, comfort, and efficiency. So I really think that PSE still dominates in that area. So the EVL 32, absolute shooter. Go check it out. They should be hitting dealers this week or next week. No one can tell you what bow is right for you. You've got to make that determination for yourself based on your experience, how you hunt, where you hunt, and the animals you're going after. So get out there, keep sending it. I'll catch you guys next time. I'm gonna go play with this EVL. See ya.